Okay, everybody, today we're here, we're going to talk about things mortgage. I'm Keith Kalk with Premier Sotheby's. I am a broker advisor. With me today is Rob Warren.
Hey Keith, thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what you do and where you're at.
Rob Warren with Prime Lending. I'm born and raised here right in Central Florida. Been in lending and banking since 1997.
Wow, so you've been through a lot.
Oh yeah, seen the ups and downs and the in-betweens.
Yeah. Okay, so in our last video we talked about buying down the rate.
Mm-hmm.
What are we looking at? How does that really work? And what are the benefits to both parties, both the seller and the buyer?
Well, last video we talked about using the seller credits to buy the rate down, which
ideally
that's what we want as a mortgage company. We'd like to see the seller help the buyer out so the buyer doesn't have to come out of pocket to buy their rate down. There are two different types of rate buy downs. There's a temporary buy down and a permanent buy down.
Okay.
We talked last video about the permanent buy down. With that, their rate again may start at 6.375 and they're buying it down to, for example, 5.375. That's for the life of the loan. So 30-year fixed.
Okay.
If they keep the loan 30 years, it's that rate for the whole life.
Okay.
The other option that we see done sometimes is called a temporary buy down.
Okay.
And you may have heard of a 3-2-1 or a 2-1 buy down.
What does that exactly mean?
What that means is for 3-2-1, for example, let's say the rate starts at 6.375 today. If they do a 3-2-1 buy down, that first year, the rate is equivalent to 3% lower. So instead of 6.375, they'd be paying an equivalent rate of 3.375.
Okay.
Next year, it'll be 2, so it'll be 4.375. Then next year, 5.375, and then after that, it goes to the regular rate, which may have been 6.375.
Okay, what's the disadvantage?
The disadvantage is not permanent. If someone really wants that lower payment for the life of the loan, they're planning on being there 10, 15, 20 years in that same mortgage, that discount falls off in 1, 2, or 3 years, depending on which type of buy down they get.
Okay.
But if they are counting on a refi boom, they think rates are going to drop, or they plan on moving or relocating within a couple years, it's ideal because they've got that lower payment. The seller's actually paying for that. They pay a subsidy towards that buy down at closing. So the seller is basically crediting interest for year 1, 2, and 3 in that example that covers that to makes their payment equivalent to, for example, the 3.375.
What does something like that cost? On this, we had talked about a $350,000 home in the last video. Let's keep with that same realm. $350,000. What would we have to give as a concession from the seller side? What would the buyer be looking at versus getting a reduction in the price of the home?
I don't have the exact figures on me for the cost of it, but it's a subsidy. So whatever the interest would have been for, let's say it was 6.375 going to 3.375, you get a 3% interest. The seller would credit 3% interest payments for the first year.
Okay.
So if I have an amortizing tool on me, I could show you that, but I don't have that number on me. But as far as what it would mean to them is their payment would drop. I would guesstimate a couple $100 the first year, and then maybe 150 the second year, maybe 100 the third year. It's variables like that. It would tier up if they do a 3-2-1. Okay,
and at the end you'd probably be looking at a possible refi.
Yeah.
Hopefully with the rates going down.
Exactly.
What I would say as a real estate agent, that would be good for somebody versus sitting on the sidelines waiting 3 years to buy.
Absolutely.
Because in that 3 years you have appreciation of the property.
Yep.
What are you losing in that? So paying less or waiting is the option, and from my standpoint, I think the option would be to buy now and look at what you can do at a later time.
Marry the house, date the rate, as they say.
There you go. I know it sounds cliche, but it really is.
It's true, yeah.
So if you're looking for more information, we have a bunch of videos out there. Take a look at them. I'm Keith Kalk. My phone number is 352-431-8539.
And I'm Rob Warren. My number is 352-552-3384. NMLS number 432395.